Hey, what's up YouTube? Back again with part 2 of my buying a used Model 3 out of state video. So where we left off was I was at our first of 2 superchargers, so one more supercharger to go, and we were charging up here, and as you can see I'm about at 75%. It says 10 minutes remaining, but what I do is if I go into the map here and I see the trip, it actually shows that I'm going to get there with several percent left. So I close the charging screen and go into the map, and I'm able to see that I'll actually have about 5% remaining when I get to the next supercharger. So that being the case, I decided to risk it. I know Tesla's numbers are a bit more conservative, but I think I'll be okay. Now it did give me a warning on here to keep the car below 65 miles per hour to ensure that we make it to the next supercharger. I didn't do that, and I traveled about 10 miles over the speed limit, and I was still able to make it with about 3% battery left. As you can see on the screen right here, the autopilot is trying to make a right lane change, but it sees this car in the right lane, so it's illuminated red. Now that the car is no longer red, the Tesla knows that it's safe to make that lane change, and it initiates the lane change behind that car. Really smart software here, really smart system, and working flawlessly, as we found out during Tesla's Autonomy Day, where the lead engineer there stated that 100,000 of these changes are made on a daily basis, and they're currently at 100%, meaning no accidents have happened with all of these lane changes. 100,000 per day. That's really impressive. That goes to show how good this software is. And again, like I've said in my previous videos, this software update 2019.8.5 is a huge leap. I almost think that this should be version 10. This should be a whole new version. This is a huge leap ahead of where we were in 2019.8.4. So you're seeing multiple lane changes here. So I want to reiterate, I'm currently in Mad Max mode. So that means that the car is going to change lanes or pass cars in the most aggressive way possible. That's the highest setting that they have. There's also average and mild. So this Mad Max mode is going to pass cars and make lane changes in the most aggressive way that Tesla allows currently with this software. So as I continue my drive, I wanted to go over a couple really important points that if you're buying a used Model 3, Model S, Model X from someone other than Tesla, you need to make sure the person who is selling the vehicle sends an email using the email address that's linked to their Tesla account to Tesla, stating that they're selling the vehicle with their full VIN in that email, so that Tesla can remove their car from their account and kind of deassociate it with their Tesla account. So the guy who I bought my used Tesla from CC'd me on the email and stated that he sold it to me with my email plain and simple in there associated with my Tesla account. So I thought that was enough. So when I messaged out to support, just wanted to confirm that you saw the email from George, they in fact stated that that email was not enough and that I had to provide additional information, including the vehicle VIN, registration, and a copy of my driver's license. Now, once all this information was provided, I was told that it would take 5 to 7 days before I would see the Tesla showing up in my Tesla account. So a couple important points here. As I'm driving this car right now, the car is still associated with the seller. I had him send the email after I got back home because he's got free supercharging for 6 months. And if he sends the email to Tesla and they deassociate this car with his account, then the free supercharging stops. And I was worried about actually using a supercharger, and would a Tesla be able to charge if it wasn't associated with a Tesla account? And I actually got a good answer back from one of the Tesla support people when they stated that if a Tesla is not associated with a Tesla account, then when you plug into a supercharger on your touchscreen, you'll be prompted to enter credit card information so that you can supercharge. That was really reassuring because I was worried about being able to supercharge on my way back home because I didn't want to have to rely on public charging stations. So as of today, the Model 3 has shown up in my Tesla account, and that was 6 days after the seller sent the initial email to Tesla and 3 days after I sent my email with a copy of my driver's license and registration. Okay, back to navigate on autopilot. Here you're going to see another lane change that's done flawlessly. And like I said previously in the video, in case you missed it, 100,000 lane changes is what Tesla's seen every day with 100% accuracy. Now this is just incredible and shows you how amazing this software and hardware suite is. This is why I think soon as the driver we are going to be obsolete, because these vehicles will be able to drive better than we can drive. And so if you remember previously, it showed stay under 65 miles an hour to reach your next supercharger, and I would get there with 3%. But as you can see here, it actually shows 12% charge. So it went up significantly even though I'm going faster than 65 miles per hour. Another lane change here, going from the right lane to the left lane. And so it starts to speed up past this car on the right, in the right lane, until that car gets over, and then the speeds adjust. So it actually, that's that same car, and now we're going to go back into that right lane. And so it's slowing down. So these people don't have cruise set or anything like that. So the autopilot's trying to pass this car, but they keep speeding up and slowing down. So you can see now the autopilot's trying to go back into the left lane, but these people speed up. So the max speed is set at 80 right now. And so since those people sped up, now the autopilot's going to get back over into the right lane. And so we're seeing multiple lane changes just trying to get around this car. And I know personally I've had to deal with this, you know, like you go to pass somebody and they kind of speed up. And so this is something that this autopilot system is going to have to learn from better at. So this right here was actually brought up in a comment on one of my other videos, where the autopilot is going to pass a car on the right hand side. And I think that's because we're currently in Mad Max mode, the most aggressive lane change settings that there are. And here you see that it's going to transition from one highway to another, and the max speed is manually adjusted by me because we're starting to come in this turn here, but then the car will start to slow down as it recognizes this curvy exit lane, and it does a great job transitioning these curves. And that is, we learned from the autonomy day, the path prediction that Tesla's using to predict the path of the road. Out of North Carolina now, and we made it to Virginia. Here's the last curve on this exit ramp, and it kind of enters in and blends in two highways. Once this road straightens back out, it adjusts the max speed back up. So this lane change right here was done the earliest I've seen of lane changes. You can see that dark colored car way up ahead, and so it actually sees that car going a lot slower, makes that lane change far in advance. Now here's the lane change going back into the right lane out of the passing lane, knowing that it's already passed the car and knowing that that right lane is clear. It easily makes this lane change back into the right lane. So this is one continuous clip here. I've sped up the parts where there's no lane changes just to show you how convenient it is for the driver. The only input I'm doing right now is skipping these tracks. I've been listening to a lot of different music. Again, this is the 7-hour drive back from Charlotte, and I've already drove down to Charlotte in that big F-250 truck that you saw in my first video that I got from Enterprise. And so I'm a little tired, and I'm just kind of getting bored with these songs that I've heard a couple times. And so here again, this is going to do a right lane pass. It's going to transition into this right lane and pass this truck on the right. And so I think this is because we are in Mad Max mode, but I want to do some further testing to see if mild and average will also pass on the right hand side. So here we enter a little construction area, and so it didn't do what I'd like to do here, and so I actually had to take over because it was trying to stay in that right lane even though the right lane ended and went into the left lane. So you told me to take over there, and then I just re-engaged the navigate on autopilot. But here, where there's a little exit, it does a great job getting over into the construction lane and is able to identify where it needs to be. So I manually slowed down the speed there, as you can see, and it goes into a tight turn here, and I had to take over because I was worried that it was going to hit one of those little pylon things in the middle. Didn't want to damage my new car, so I went ahead and took over. But other than those two instances, I feel like the autopilot did a great job, or the Navigate on autopilot did a great job navigating this construction zone. So here we have another construction zone where we turn back into the regular highway. So they have the detour sign up with the cones on either side, and autopilot does a phenomenal job identifying where it needs to go and staying in this makeshift construction lane. So unlike the last time where it almost hit one of these cones and I had to take over, it did a good job transitioning back to the normal highway, and then as soon as it sees that there's another lane there, it's going to take the lane and get over into the right lane out of the passing lane. So this highway here actually transitions into like a smaller highway that actually has stoplights on it. So I end up in stop and go traffic, and it switches from Navigate on autopilot just to regular autopilot, and you can tell because it has two blue lines on the sides of the vehicle versus one blue line on the front of the vehicle. But it still does a great job. The only difference is that I control the lane changes, and you can see up here in the video where I actually manually change lanes from the left lane to the right lane. I say manual, but the only thing that the driver has to do in autopilot is turn on the turn signal. So I just simply turned on the turn signal, and the autopilot made the lane change from the left lane to the right lane to pass those trucks. So now at this point in the drive, I have a little bit longer until I reach that next supercharger, and my range, or my percent of battery charge when I get there, has gone down from what it said previously to about 5 or 6%. And so that cut in half, because it was saying 12% when I get there, but now that's actually gone down. As you can see right here in the video, it shows that we're going to get there at about 4% battery to the next supercharger, which is in Charlottesville. Here's another stoplight on that highway, and it reminds me I'm excited for the next software update, and hopefully they add the stoplight detection. And that stoplight detection is where the car will automatically stop by itself when it sees a red light, so it's able to identify the color of the light. So in this clip here, we get to learn a little bit more about the decisions that this Mad Max mode, or the aggressiveness of these lane changes, are taking. So it just took a change out of the left lane, and several miles up here we're going to take the exit. And so I'm going to fast forward a little bit here, and autopilot is going to try to make a lane change like it did previously in the video. I'm not sure if you caught it, but merge in front of oncoming traffic. So right here I cancel that lane change because we have multiple cars entering the highway, as I'm pointing to right there. And so it makes sense, and any normal driver would know that if cars are coming onto a highway, that you want to stay in the left lane to give them room to merge. So by just tapping that blue rectangle, canceling the lane change, hopefully the autopilot software is able to learn that it shouldn't merge towards, or shouldn't change lanes towards traffic that's merging onto that highway. So here you can see the autopilot is ready to get over. It has its blue rectangle down, but it knows that a vehicle's there, so it speeds up a bit to get in front of that vehicle in the right lane, and then has an opening where it could get in behind this little blue car here. And so it transitions over into that right lane behind this blue car, following at a safe distance. And now here comes a merge where it actually sees this truck, and so this truck starts to come over. Autopilot starts to slow down, telling us that it can anticipate where this truck is going to go. So a very courteous driver, where I feel like a lot of people would speed up when they see traffic starting to merge over, whereas the autopilot does the opposite and starts to slow down to let that traffic in. So shortly down here on the highway, we transition from Navigate on autopilot, and it gives us a little warning here right underneath the car, navigate on autopilot is ending, and so it ends and just switches right into regular autopilot. So it won't do any automatic lane changes or pass any cars or anything like that. And so what I'm able to do here is actually turn my turn signal on manually and get behind this truck, and this is going to be the cloverleaf or entrance ramp. So I'm manually slowing down the speed here to take this cloverleaf, and so let's see how the autopilot does. And it does a pretty good job. It's really going slow, and so it slowed itself down a little bit more than I did, and it's really hugging this right hand side, almost like it knows that this line is here on the right hand side, and it's trying to be safe and just kind of hug what it knows, and so stays close to that. And then so I'm gonna put on the turn signal here to try to get over, but it looks like I have to cross quite a bit of traffic, so I might just manually do this rather than have the autopilot do it. But now we're waiting in here at the left-hand lane, a couple lights ahead. A car is jumping at us from behind, but we finally get the left-hand turn light, and now we are almost at the Supercharger. So this is a Supercharger station in Charlottesville. Really nice area, lots of great shops, and if you guys don't know, there is a YouTube channel called Now You Know, and they have reviews of Superchargers. So I actually did a review of this Supercharger that I will play right after these next few clips. Those Supercharger reviews that you can find on their website, which there's a link down in the description, are great for if you're traveling to a different area that you're not familiar with, or if you have multiple supercharging options, you can pick which supercharger works best for your preference. So here you can see we got there with 3% battery, not bad, still enough to charge. It says about 40 minutes, but literally I didn't stay here that long at all. It was about 1/4 the time. It was literally about 10 minutes. I was able to get some video of the hotel, took some pictures of the vehicle, walked over to where the shops are, and that is about it. As soon as I walked back, I noticed that I had enough charge in the vehicle to make it to my next destination. So now you're gonna see my Supercharger review for the Now You Know YouTube channel. Hey, Zach and Jesse, Will from All Electric. Just picked up my new Model 3 and had to stop in the Charlottesville Supercharger. I would give this Supercharger a number 8. It's a little bit off the highway, but it has great shops that you can stop at. So you can go grab a bite to eat. There's also a hotel that it's kind of attached to the Hyatt that has free Wi-Fi and restrooms. Okay, so about 10 minutes of supercharging and we're good to go. One thing I did notice is after each supercharge, navigate on autopilot would turn off. So I'd have to hit that navigate on autopilot button again for it to illuminate. Okay, so we're almost home now, and I'm really familiar with where I'm at, and I actually took a different route. And as you can see, the navigation is telling me to make a U-turn, even though I know this is a faster way, and it's not until several miles down the road that this actually changes and kind of recalculates itself, and then tells me to go straight ahead. All right, so just a couple more miles to travel down the highway. I'm almost home. Successfully drove my Model 3 back from North Carolina. Thank you for watching this 2-part series on picking up a used Model 3 from out of state. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. That really helps support the channel. Also, I hope I answered all your questions about what it's like buying a used Model 3 from somebody other than Tesla, but if I didn't, leave a question in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.